Hello, Trevor Cutmore here. Thank you for coming on my YouTube channel. This week, I have a really exciting video coming out on Friday. It's the interview with Rick Otten. He's the man that was fined $18 million in Australia for in his business and him personally. I'm really excited. I want you to see it. It's spread over 6 weeks, so please subscribe. If you want to see the whole of the interview, it's going to be a bite-sized chunk every week on Fridays at 5 o'clock, so subscribe. Please put your comments and share it around. Now, one of the major things that got him into trouble is he wrote a book. Now, I even see people saying this same phrase in this country, and they've done for many years. They've said, buy a house for £1. His book was buy a house for $1, Australian dollar. Now, you've heard that phrase, and what does it actually mean? And I've heard people go on stage and say, hey, you can buy a house for £1, and you can do this, and you can do that. It is rubbish. That you have to understand one thing. What are they talking about when they say $1 or £1? They're not actually saying you can buy that property for £1. The pound is a legal consideration because when contracts are formed, money needs to change hands to make the legal contract an agreeable a certainty. So that contract is done, it's agreed, monies have changed hands. And so if you are going to do a lease option contract with somebody's house on a residential property and you want to do that, the solicitors will do that, but there has to be a change of money, and the minimum amount accepted as a legal consideration is £1. So at the point of exchange, £1 is exchanged between solicitors. Yes, they do it with their other transactions and things like that, but £1 goes across from one side to the other. That secures and makes the contract live. So in essence, yes, you secure the contract on the option to buy a house, but you haven't bought it. You have an option to buy it. In many cases, you'll have an assignable option, which means you don't even have to buy it. You'll keep it for a period of time. You have control over the property. The owner cannot sell the property, and you've got a control. And at the end of it, you can either buy that property yourself, or you can put it on the open market, walk down to the estate agents, to all of them say, I want to put it on the market, I want to sell it. So let's think about this. The contract with the legal consideration, the minimum amount is £1, fine. But what else does it cost you? Well, it costs a few £1,000s on legal contracts. So the cheapest one you're going to get is going to be around about £800–900 plus VAT. You might as well say about £1,200 per side. So if you're going to pay the other person and pay their legal contracts, which sometimes we do that in options, then that's £2,500 straight out. Rarely do you get a property that you walk in and you can rent it straight out. Rarely. So that means you're going to have to do some works. You might have to do some painting, some furniture, some other things. You might have to change a kitchen, whatever. You might want to do a really good refurb. Okay, so there's many things that you may have to do. But let's say it's a light refurb and you've got to spend £3,000, something like that. So for £5,500, you could get control of a property. You have the option agreement, and that can be for a few months, it can be for a few years, 5, 6, 7 years, 20 years, whatever you want. You've got control. The wonderful thing about options are you have control on the property. But please get it out of your head. If someone's saying buy a house for £1, you can't. All right, you cannot buy it for £1. And recently I've seen someone else going on saying that they paid something like 60 odd pounds for a house. I'm sorry, it's just not possible, and that is a lie, because the legal costs, and let's be honest, you and I are not going to be doing our legal contracts ourselves. And if you do, let's put this one to bed for you. Let's suppose him, because I do know someone who went out on the circuit, on a training circuit. He used to be a financial advisor many years ago, and then he got into training, and he was standing on stage, and I was there and I heard it for myself. And he was saying, listen guys, you make your own contracts up, it's fine, because if you get the first one from solicitor, you just copy it out. That's bad and wrong advice. And then what you do, you say, look, maybe 5 years, but in the small print you change that to 25 years. And he was deliberately deceiving and cheating people, and it's disgusting that people would do this sort of thing. So let's suppose you took a contract and you did it yourself with that solicitor, and you gave it to the homeowner, and they look at it and they don't take independent financial and independent legal advice. They don't take it, and you sign it. And let's suppose you're rubbing your hands, you say, oh, I'm going to make £100,000 in a couple of years from this property. Great. So you come to it. By that time, the owner, probably someone's spoken to them because they've seen, say, oh, that person's going to make 100,000 on them if I kept it. And they say, well, what contract have we got? Oh, they just came round and you signed. Can I tell you, if you do it that way, you're going to lose it. You'll lose everything. Why? Because if it gets challenged, it will go to court, the judge will say, you're the property investor, you know what you're doing, a sophisticated investor, you have duped to that homeowner, you have not given them proper independent legal advice or independent financial advice, and they will tear that contract up and you will lose it. And if you put any money in it, good luck in getting that back as well. So let's just put it to bed. Buy a house for £1 or £60 or whatever it is a load of rubbish. It is going to cost you several £1,000s just for the legals. If you're having any works done, you've got that to do. Sometimes the £1, the option fee, £1, the legal consideration is not £1. So imagine that you had a property that you could make 100,000. Everyone knows it. The owner knows it. You know it. But they say, but I want £20,000 up front. Ah, there's a conundrum for you. So £20,000 up front, and you're paying the legal fees, and you might put something into the property, but in 2 years' time, 2 or 3 years' time, you can make £100,000. Ah, so is that something you want to do? Of course, it's about your own position. But please, let's get, real here. The contracts which are done on options on residential properties need to be done by solicitors. I know a lot of people, there's an actual contract kicking around. It's called a doorstep contract. So it's just a very basic page that you basically fill in when you go into someone's house to view, and I know sourcing agents try to do this. So imagine you've gone direct to vendor, say, look, I can buy your house, let's say it's 200,000. We can buy it 150,000 and we'll have it done in a few weeks, that's fine. So they get them to sign up, and it might, and quite often again, these contracts would be 3, 6 months, whatever. They're not being true to their word. They tie them up with this contract, they sign it, and then they look for a buyer to source it, and they sell it to them for 180,000, and that way they make a £30,000 profit themselves. However, again, these doorstep contracts will not hold any water, and if the owner knows what they're doing, they will just tear it up and say, sorry mate, you're having a laugh on me, and they should go and put it on the market and get a real price. Again, because it's not done properly. If they don't have financial advice, if they're not getting independent legal advice, it's not going to fly. So look, obviously it's a bit of a bugbear for me. I hate seeing this when people try to abuse this, because options are really, really good. They help the owner. When you walk in and you see an owner, especially when they're in difficulty, financial difficulty especially, and I've been to court several times where I've sat down and stopped the bank repossessing the property and allowing me to come up with a plan. The owners will move out, I will take over the property, and I will reduce their debt. Sometimes I've paid the debt, the arrears off in order to get it. And guess what? The owners, they go off. You see the pain and the stress will just physically leave them. You see their faces change when you can do this for them, and you cut them into some of the profit at the end. So where they think they're going to lose everything, you can come in and actually really do something good. And I think we're coming into a time where options are going to be a very powerful tool to help people in the situation, especially what we're coming into, which I hope is not as bad as a lot of people are saying. I hope that's sort of clarified that. watch the interview. I'm really excited. I know I'm going to get some flack, but I dealt with that on Monday. If you haven't seen that video, drop back to Monday and you'll see what I said about criticism, etc. And listen, have a wonderful week with this beautiful weather. We're nearly in the middle. We are in the middle of September. Unbelievable. Take care. God bless you. Bye bye.